This business is like the Wild West. Gold, silver, rare coins, lost treasures of history. You never know what's gonna walk through that door.
Bullets from the Civil War era.
Hideous and creepy, and I bet somebody will like them. This is a home run item right here. I'm Evan Kale, and this is Pawn Man. Welcome back, everyone. We got a great episode of Pawn Man in store. Before we get into it, number one, if you want to support the work that I do here, please consider becoming a Pawn Man Patreon. There's a link in the video description below. You get access to written posts by me on the Patreon site. You also get bonus videos that nobody gets to see. They're like Pawn Hub videos. I'm putting out like 2 a month. You get early access to these videos. They come out upwards of like a week before everybody else sees them. You also get the uncensored versions. So I go into more detail about stuff. I'm more personal about stuff. I share lots of stuff that I don't share for everybody else. So again, $1 a month gets you access. I also have a $5 tier. Also, we do have an episode sponsor. Once again, Bong Water Beverage Company, a THC infused drink. It hits you fast. It does taste good. If you live in Minnesota, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, Texas, Wisconsin, this product is available in a bunch of different varieties. They have gluten-free options, sugar-free options, a bunch of different flavors. I personally like the Lit Lemon and the Mellow Melon. They're sugar-free. If you live in a state that has THC products, they can ship it to you via UPS. So visit bongwaterbeveragecompany.com, send them an email, or if you've tried this product and you like it, reach out to them and let them know that I turned you onto it. And with that, you guys, let's get into a great video. Well, I got some bad news, everybody. We got scammed yesterday for $400. Here, check it out.
Look. Good, how are you? Did you call earlier? Yeah, okay, it's total 320. So we paid 340 for everything.
So that guy called yesterday. I quoted him over the phone, and then he came in here, and I was busy doing there's like a lot of like paperwork I've had to do the last couple weeks because I'm well, it doesn't matter. I was working on that, and I was also on my lunch break too, so I was just like zoned out. And like, I'm just like a naive idiot. I try not to give people the benefit of the doubt based on how they look. In this case, the guy had a face tattoo, and I looked up for a second, I saw it, and I thought, I smell sketchy. No, I don't want to be an ass. Yeah, I should have been an asshole. So my employee was dealing with him, and like I said, we treat everybody with integrity and courtesy and respect, even if we think like. And in this case, I really wish we would have listened to our gut, because I almost got up. I was listening to headphones, but like I was looking up, and I almost got up to just like get in the middle of it. But I thought, well, I don't want to undermine my employee, and like I don't want to come off as a dick when the guy might just have made a bad choice in getting a tattoo, and he might just be selling some scrap to pay for stuff, because that's a thing too. So he's working with my employee, and my employee filed into the gold, but he didn't file it deep enough. And when I say he didn't file it deep enough, what I mean is he should have honestly just drenched the stuff in 22 karat acid. So this is what you do, you guys. If you're not sure about something, take 22 karat acid or 24 karat acid, one of the two, a much higher tier of nitric acid, because that'll dissolve crap. It won't just eat it away. It'll eat it. So I'm watching this deal. Guy walks out. And as he walks out, and I look at it, and then I could hear thumping music coming from outside, and I'm like, and when I looked out, it's a sketchy tinted out Mercedes. It's like kind of beat up with a bunch of dudes in it, which is a bad sign. Thieves either work solo or they work in crews. And when it's a crew trying to rip you off, they send in one representative, but the getaway car is out there, and the other ones all stay in the car. And what they'll do is when they go shop to shop, they trade off whose turn it is to go in. They got trunk full of it's fake, and they go store to store, they go city to city. This is how crew operates. So I look at that, and I quickly just think, because they're starting to pull out, I'm like, I'm gonna quickly write down their license plate. I don't like this. Wrote down the plate, then I walked over and I go, you tested this. And I looked at it and like, it looked fine, but I'm not liking this. And so he goes, yeah. And I grabbed the 22 karat acid and I just went, just squeezed the bottle on it. And it just went, in 20 seconds, it lost like 5% of its total mass. This stuff just burned up. This is very fake. Now, what's the mistake here? The mistake is not paying attention. It's my store. I should have been paying attention. I should have followed my gut. I had kind of a bad feeling looking at the guy. My employee should have filed deeper. He should have paid attention. Am I mad? No. We make mistakes here. It happens. So I filed a police report. Like I said, I got their license plate. Now, I got the question. So what's the crime here? I can't prove that they're actively knowing that they're scamming people. Of course they are. But can I prove that in court if I press charges? No. No, they can plead ignorance and it'll be my burden of proof and I won't. What I can do is get them based on the fact they're using a fake ID. I'm not gonna get into it. It's a good fake, but I could tell you used to work in a bar, it's a fake ID. And as a result of that, that's a misdemeanor. This is the individual. I did, I used Chatbot to enhance the security image. And actually Chatbot did a great job, I will say. So this is my friend here. Hopefully I find him.
Picked up a lot of watches. Many that were clearly gold.
Okay.
But
usually they're gold filled.
What's that?
Usually they're gold filled, but I'll test them. I'll look at them. So this one's gold filled, this one's gold filled, this one is... Test.
That one is gold, right?
Gold filled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can tell it. When it gets this like kind of like dull hue,
okay,
it's gold filled. Most of these watches in the style I see from the 1900s are filled. This one I'll test. I think I'll have you come back next Monday. I have a young antique expert that works here. He's off for a week. He knows watches really well.
Okay.
And I wouldn't want to damage these. This is gonna take me a while to test. I'm thinking that these are probably all gold plated or gold filled. But he can look at these and go through them in 3 seconds. I wish he was here today.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
I'll
thanks
be
for
back
coming
Monday.
by.
Thanks so much.
You can go out the side door if it's easier.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to invest the time because one, I sensed right away that guy was wanting too much money. My guess is none of those watches, that little sample he showed me, there were maybe about 12 watches in front of me just now. Not a single one of those, I don't think, was gold. And I didn't want to put the time into testing. So, we'll see if he comes back. Oh, you got a lot.
I had more than I thought.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so we got some Canadian. Morgan. These are our peace dollars. Full roll of peace dollars. $30.65. Perfect. Go. I'm gonna do pretty well on this deal. All right, the quarters are all BU, but I don't need them. I'm gonna just ditch them. The Morgans and the peace dollars, they're mainly all uncirculated. Probably getting low end 40. I paid them 22 each. Low end 40, high end 60. I'm selling all these on my whatnot auction tonight. TikTok meets eBay. There's a link in my video description if you want a chance to buy stuff like this. Most of it is going straight to whatnot. Yeah, double my money at least. That was a great deal. Hey guys, just really quick, I have a Bullion Club order going out right now. So the subscription service, the Bullion Club, and the Numismatic Club, they all start at $100. So for $100, this person is getting 2 Kennedy 40%ers and 3 ounces of silver with a market price right now of $28.75. So if you're buying these retail, I mean, you're paying probably $102 just for this. So you guys check out the Bullion Club on pawnmanstore.com. You can either get quality or quantity. So quantity, it's just your biggest bang for your buck. I'm making like $3 on this. Versus like if you wanted like quality, you might get some pours like this, or maybe some like nadir pours, or maybe something like that. Like I got that MS70 CAC Sticker Eagle 2024. I have it listed at 100. I'd probably give you that and something else too. So check out the Bullion Club and the Numismatic Club on pawnmanstore.com. Since we're going to be talking about Soviet artifacts and Soviet collectibles and how one gets into collecting Soviet memorabilia in a little bit, I'm going to show you guys some of the stuff that I bought. Now again, I'm not really buying this stuff anymore. I've had this for a while. It's been laying around. So let's kind of go through what we have here. First off, these are nesting dolls. We've covered these already on Pawn Man. Usually when I see them, they're like 6 or 7 deep. This one's like 10 deep. I've never seen it. Look at this. It's just adorable. Look at this little guy. So this was made probably in the 1950s. I paid $65 for this. I'm asking $95. I've had a few people express interest. That's actually a pretty good price too for this. Hand painted, signed by the artist. We've again already talked about nesting dolls, but something like this is considered a Soviet collectible. It was issued during the reign of the Soviet Union. Then these, I have 3 books written by Stalin. Foundations on questions of Leninism here. About the great patriotic war of Soviet Union, anarchism and socialism. Now, I don't know if this is true. The person who sold this to me claims these are first edition. I think he's right, but just given I'm not a rare book expert, look at this. Nice guy. So these are just books written by Stalin, again, about these 3 subjects. I paid $90 for the 3 of them, so $30 each. I can probably get somewhere in the neighborhood of about $150 on them. And then this is a lacquered brooch. It's hand painted. It's probably from the 1930s.
Very pretty. Now, I've had this, you guys, for over 2 years. This has been sitting on top of my safe. I've been waiting to feature this, and finally I have an opportunity to do it. I paid $50 for this, and this little egg, this is a reproduction. I'm pretty sure that's the Russian Orthodox cross. Now the real versions of these are expensive. This is a reproduction, like I said, it's not actually gold. I suspect those aren't real diamonds. I haven't tested them, but this is just a beautiful piece in my opinion. And then this, I think you guys remember when I bought this in a different video. This is a full collection of Soviet commemoratives. They're all clad, but it's the full set, the full entire book, everything that was issued. And obviously each of these feature prominent Russian figures, Russian history. The one that I see pretty often, and actually I have one in my private collection, this is Victory Over the Nazis. So the collection starts here, I believe 72 coins in all. This, I'm actually gonna part it out. I hate to do it, but I'll get more money. I'll probably get $10 a coin on my whatnot auction. I tried to sell this for $2.50, nobody budged. So what I'm gonna do starting bid $1 because I did the math. I got about $3 into each coin, and I can probably get 10 bucks a coin, letting these each ride $1 starting bid. Kind of a shame to break up the book, but I am running a business. And then this is a Russian propaganda book. I think it was, 1985 this was issued. It's not a very interesting book. It's mainly just like written text talking about how awesome the Soviet Union is, how no one is starving, everyone is happy. We are happy all of the time. We have lots of good food. We have freedoms. We have Soviet police still watching me. I think I paid 10 bucks for this thing. You see, we have great production. We have no famine. And then finally, I actually just sold this. I paid $400 for this coin. This is pre-Soviet, 1904 Russia gold 5 ruble MS66. I got $5.50 for this on pawnmanstore.com. But this stuff is what we're gonna be talking about with Soviet collectibles.
Once again, you guys, I want to thank our episode sponsor, Bong Water Beverage Company. Check out Bong Water Beverage Company's website, bongwaterbeveragecompany.com. If you're in Minnesota, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, Texas, Wisconsin, the product is available, so check it out. Otherwise, if you live in a state that has THC products, visit their website and see if they can ship it to you via UPS or FedEx. Also, you guys, follow me on Whatnot. A lot of the items we're talking about, if I get them, I will sell them on there. Whatnot is like TikTok meets eBay. I'm streaming on there a couple nights a week doing live auctions. It's a huge part of my business. And if you don't have the app, download it with my code. You can get a free $15 off your first purchase. There's a link in the video description. But let's now talk about the subject this week, Soviet collectibles. Soviet collectibles provide a fascinating glimpse into the Soviet era, the culture, the people, the way of life. It's a very important chapter in human history. So what falls under the umbrella of Soviet collectibles? Well, truly, anything from the Soviet Union. Anything. This Russian nesting doll, who was probably produced in the 1950s. This is an example of a Soviet collectible. To give some examples, these include military artifacts, political artifacts, household and everyday items, art, literature, books, again, anything coming out of the Soviet Union falls under this umbrella. Before we talk about the items themselves, and of course we'll cap this off with some of the most expensive items sold at auction, let's give a brief history of the Soviet Union. The story begins in the early 20th century with the Russian Empire, which was ruled by the Romanovs. The Russian Empire was plagued with economic instability, political oppression, it was a terrible way to live. There was massive inequality. The Romanovs were living like kings, and the people beneath them were not just their subjects, they lived a very hard life. And eventually, they said enough is enough, and they revolted. In early 1917, massive protests broke out, and it culminated with the abduction of Tsar Nicholas II and his family. Later on in 1917, the Bolsheviks, which were led by Lenin, staged a coup d'etat and overthrew the government. This marked the beginning of the Bolshevik rule and the creation of the Russian Soviet Federalist Socialist Republic. In 1922, they merged with Ukraine, Belarus, and the Transcaucasian Soviet Republics, and they formed the USSR, Union of Socialist Soviet Republics. Soviet Union! Now, Vladimir Lenin, as I said, was the first leader, and he faced a huge challenge consolidating his power and stabilizing the economy because the country was a mess. There was a civil war from 1917 to 1922. It was the Bolsheviks against the anti-Bolsheviks, the Reds versus the not, and the Reds won. However, the country was devastated in the aftermath. To recover the economy, Lenin allowed some free enterprise, but it was a communist state, so there was still quite a lot of infighting and just a lot of things that didn't make sense. Lenin died in 1924, and Joseph Stalin emerged, and he outmatched all of his rivals, and he took complete power. He ruled from 1924 until his death in 1953, and he instituted a lot of very dramatic policies to try and crush rebellions, stabilize the economy, stabilize the country, and form everything under his rulership. But he did so very aggressively. Everything from purges to these 5-year plans of rapid industrialization that were very hard on the people, and other extreme acts that resulted in famine. The purges, millions of people were arrested and killed. There's a body count on Stalin's hands that is probably worse than Hitler. Now, despite all this, he did modernize the Soviet Union in the worst way possible, both the economy and the military, and it became a superpower. World War II hit the USSR very hard. The death toll, again, was massive. The Nazis tried to take Russia with Operation Barbarossa. They got pretty close. They were within 30 miles of Moscow, but they completely up. They spread their forces too wide. They had summer clothes for the Soviet winter, and ultimately it's one of the main reasons why the Nazis lost. Post-World War II, the Soviet Union established total control over Eastern Europe. They created a bloc of communist states, and this is the massive USSR that you all know when you think of the term. The Cold War lasted from 1947 until the Soviet Union's dissolution in 1991, and such conflicts during this time included the space race, the nuclear arms race, various proxy wars such as the battlefields in Afghanistan, and massive instability. After Stalin died, first off, you guys should see the movie Death of Stalin. It's not totally historically accurate, but it is a great movie. It is hysterical, and it does kind of portray this power grab that everybody beneath Stalin was reaching for, because if you grabbed and you missed, that's what happened to you. Khrushchev took over after Stalin's death. He tried to institute some reforms. People that were in these prisons, these purges that Stalin was doing, he tried to say, oh, we're not doing that anymore. Now it's the nice Soviet Union. Now it's a great place to live. I mean, not really. However, the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 just illustrated how unstable everything was and how close we were to the brink of total cataclysmic nuclear war, all-out destruction. Leonid Brezhnev succeeded Khrushchev in 1964. There were a lot of problems with his policies, and the economy just couldn't quite function normally, not like the United States was. The invasions of Czechoslovakia and Afghanistan, Czechoslovakia was 1968, Afghanistan 1979, caused massive death, huge problems. It kind of broke the back of the Soviet military, and Mikhail Gorbachev came into the picture in 1985. He sought to, again, revitalize the USSR through various reforms. These reforms included restructuring the Soviet Union's economy and opening the Soviet Union up, trying to make it a world trading partner. And although these policies instituted a lot of hope with the Russian people, Gorbachev couldn't control just how unstable things became. The Soviet Union quickly started to unravel after this. The Eastern Bloc crumbled, the Berlin Wall came down, Mr. Gorbachev
tear down this wall.
And then in 1991, a failed coup accelerated the unraveling of the USSR. Gorbachev resigned, and the Soviet Union was replaced by 15 independent countries. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about these collectibles within this whole giant arena of history. You guys have ever seen the movie Lord of War? Another great movie. I'm a huge Nicolas Cage fan. That is a good example of militaria that was available after the fall of the Soviet Union, because when it dissolved, you have all these weapons, and everything from AK-47s to nuclear weapons that are suddenly not being policed and up for grabs, and they dispersed all over the world. I would love a USSR automatic AK-47. I've never shot one, I'd love to. So let's start with military artifacts, weapons, uniforms, medals, orders, equipment, gear, and some of these items, I mean, as we'll talk about at the end, they can get ungodly expensive if you have the right medal, the right order. A problem that we will talk about, and this is the biggest problem here is with the militaria, is authenticity. How do you know that something is real? I myself, honestly, probably couldn't distinguish a real from a fake. I just don't know enough. You have to really know your stuff to know what you're looking at. Look for things that didn't exist in the era. That's a good clue. Example, and this is a World War II example. If you have a uniform, it's made from polyester,
They didn't have polyester back then, so you need to be looking for something made from cotton. That's just one example. Propaganda posters are also faked a lot. Look at the material. Is it a digital print or is it hand painted? Household items are also faked a lot. Soviet era porcelain and glassware from famous makers and factories. Look at how it's made. Is it the craftsmanship you would expect or is it a cheap knockoff? When you're looking in things like uniforms, look for fake inscriptions and insignias. Was it a known unit or is it something that you can't find anything about? And it's probably not even a real unit at all. Also look for artificial aging. There's techniques that people can do when they're counterfeiting items to make it look like it's old, but it's not. Be familiar with how to identify, is it genuinely this old or did somebody try to make it look this old? Who's the person selling it to you? Is it an antique dealer with a track record? Or is it some guy on Facebook? You can turn to various community groups online, everything from Reddit to Facebook. Talk with other experts, familiarize yourself with the community, very much like we talked about with the Civil War antiques. But back into the various items that you can acquire. Again, we just covered militaria, propaganda posters as well. Some famous propaganda posters collectors are really after, it seems, these three. The Motherland Calls propaganda poster, Be Vigilant propaganda poster, and Glory to the Soviet People. Those three are treasured by enthusiasts and collectors. Household items, everyday objects, things like porcelain, glassware, toys, games, consumer goods, art, literature, paintings, sculptures, books. Understand the historical context of what you're buying. Familiarize yourself with market trends, with what things go for. Do your research before you buy something. Also look for a complete item versus part of a set. Is it a 5 metal set and you have 4 to 5 metals, or is the whole set there with all the proper documentation? Where can you get these items? Check out auction houses like Stax or Heritage Auctions, reputable auction houses that are not selling counterfeits. Otherwise, visit antique shops, but be careful because oftentimes antique dealers sometimes make mistakes and they may accidentally sell something that is not authentic and they thought it was. So we'll conclude this with some very expensive items I found that were sold at auction, some of the most expensive Soviet items of all time. Some of these items include Joseph Stalin's pipe, which sold for $85,000. Soviet porcelain from the Lomonosov factory. It was a very prestigious maker. Rare pieces can fetch up to $100,000 or more. Propaganda posters can fetch upwards of 30 grand or more. Tsar Nicholas II's diamond encrusted cigarette case, again highlighting how unequal it was. $325,000 for that. The Romanov family jewels. A single jewel go for 2.5 million or more. And really quick, I didn't mention this, I'm sure a lot of you know this. When the Romanovs were murdered, they were first put under house arrest, told they were going to be safe, and then the whole family one night was taken down in the basement. They were all wearing diamond encrusted clothes, and they were lined up and they were shot, and they survived the first barrage of bullets because diamonds are more than bulletproof. They had to close range walk up, execute the family by shooting them in the head and stab them. They were killing the children too. It's really brutal. A couple other items I found that were really expensive. Yuri Gagarin's spacesuit was $250,000. Mikhail Kalashnikov, his AK-47, it was a prototype. That went for $500,000. The Order of the Red Banner, which was awarded for bravery and excellent military service, those can be $100,000. They're very rare. And finally, the Order of Victory. This is the most expensive item I found. This was awarded to high-ranking military officials during World War II. $4.7 million. Now, there are many other items out there. You can enter into this arena for cheap. You can get items for $5-10, but you can also spend millions of dollars too. Do any of you at home have some Soviet collectibles? If so, tell me about it in the comment section. Are you interested in any of these? The USSR, its history and its role on the global stage is so important to human history. It's just, you need to be careful buying the stuff. It's easy to overpay. It's easy to buy an item that is not authentic that you thought was. So do your research, talk to communities, but above all else, appreciate and preserve the history. Any kind of piece of history is important to keep, whether good or bad. We talk about this all the time. History is important. The USSR was not a good chapter in human history by my estimation, but these items do tell an important story about human history, and they should be preserved, treasured, and shared and discussed for the sake of human discourse. All right, well, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for watching. If you want to support me again, please consider becoming a Patreon to support the work that I do here. There's a lot of bonus content for you for your money. $1 or $5 a month gets you access, so check out my Patreon page. You also have access to written posts by me as well. Thank you again to our sponsor, Bong Water Beverage Company. Minnesota, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, Texas, Wisconsin. If you live in those states, check it out. Or if you live in a state that has THC items available, visit bongwaterbeveragecompany.com and find out if they can ship it to you. Follow me
on social media at Pawnman. I'm on all the social media pages. Visit pawnmanstore.com to check out my books, my products, get bullion from me. It's a great time to buy. I think the market's still gonna go up. We do have the cheapest prices on the internet. Also, check out the Pawnman Bullion Club and Numismatic Club. We had a lot of people sign up recently. And I'll see you guys back here for another great video. Later, guys.